On this special health episode of The Flight of the 50 Fancies, Mr. Jonathan Cohn is going to be telling us about his work as a migraine-haver. Now, you've had, how many migraines have you had in your life, Mr. Cohn? Well, it's not a matter of how many migraines I've had as like how often they happen. And so, but Mr. Cohn, tell us about what it is to be a migraine, or to have a migraine. Well, migraines are this, I guess it's like a kind of headache, but it hurts, it's like worse, and it has other things, like for example, usually when I get a migraine, it makes my stomach hurt, and sometimes I throw up, and I can't drive, and like my eyes it'll almost be like the thing, you know how your eyes are round? It'll be like I see that roundness. The image I see isn't communicating flatness to my eye and from my eye to my brain. Rather, it just curls around my eye, and I feel like I need to close my eyes. But even as I close them, the roundness remains, and I just see the roundness of the inside of my eyelids while my kind of hurts. Usually it's around my eyebrow. That was the first migraine I've ever had. I was like, why does my eyebrow hurt? I don't understand why that is. And it sucked. I had a lot of problems in my life as a result. I blame all of my failures on my migraines, and I don't know where I'd be without them. Mr. Cohn, that is a very brave story. Oh, you totally told this you're so courageous to come on my show. What is your remedy? I mean, sometimes I can't do it. In the real world, sometimes we just have to muscle through our migraines, and we can't just go to bed like people like you, for example. People like me have to muscle through. Sometimes we have to knuckle through. One time I had a migraine all day. It developed in a fluorescently lit room. That was my office at the time, and I was at a meeting it was like a 3-hour meeting, 3-hour tour, Gilligan's Island. And then the presenter put on this slide projector kind of deal. We don't really have those anymore, but we used to, so bear with me, string bean. And I was thinking, why does that projector have to be so bright? Why must my eyebrow hurt so bad? And then I realized what was happening, and it was time for me to go to bed in my mind, but I still had an hour of work left, and I spent that hour of work embarrassing myself and sweating and looking as if I was about to vomit and gross everybody out, and saying things I didn't mean to say, I didn't want to say, things that I wanted to reveal at the time. And then when I was finished revealing it, I realized what a terrible mistake I had made in my revealing, because I didn't realize how it would affect I just didn't realize what I was saying because of my migraine, of course. Well, Jonathan, why don't you tell me what you said to those people while you had your migraine? No one can blame you for saying strange things when you have a little headache. Were you listening, or were you not listening? Because if you were, you wouldn't have asked me to repeat something on streaming audio that I regretted telling a few people after we saw some slides. I don't know if you're paying attention, which is okay. Now, sometimes I do get migraines at the right time, because one time I got one on Saturday afternoon when I didn't have to go into work and I didn't have to go to sleep at a normal time, and I noticed immediately. Now, this might have been, who knows, I've had countless migraines, and this one sucked, so I realized what was happening immediately, and I just pounded iBoop, and I know this isn't an advertising show, Anyway, and I just went to bed. It was probably 4 p.m. and I just thought, that's my day. Got up at 10, went to bed at 4, didn't get done, except taking care of TCB, you know what I'm saying? Unfortunately, during my the twilight period between when I was rolling about in agony on my bed and when I was fast asleep, I had one of those in-between dreams where I thought the pain was so great thrumming along my eyebrow that I had died. But I was punished for all of the bad things that I've done in my life with not feeling okay afterwards. I still, even in death, I had this migraine, and my hell was continuing to have it forever. Because, like, you don't go insane in hell. Like, there are probably, I think, you read stories once in a while of people who have migraines, have such tenacious migraines that, like, are so hard to treat that they simply go mad. The pain drives them mad. But people in hell, they say, are incapable of going mad because the madness would protect them from the horror of being where they are. So I imagine these people who, if there are people who have migraines that are so tenacious that they go mad, and then those people in their actual deaths, or their second deaths in many senses, once those people go to hell, their migraines remain, but their madness lifts from them, so they have no escape from that pain. So don't you think, what do you think about that? My guest is Jonathan Cohn, and I would, to remind him to stay on to so does that kind of stuff run in your family? Is that the idea? Well, yeah, it runs in, I think a couple of my aunts get them. My grandmother did. Neither of my parents did, but my grandmother did, and she got medication. I didn't get any yet. I will. I just don't get migraines often enough. Like, I'll get one maybe once a month or once every 2 months or something. Yeah, it's probably, well, it doesn't matter. And then, but in between the time, I'm just like, who cares? I don't give a crap. Because those people in the past who had migraines, those aren't me now. They couldn't possibly be me because those people were in this, those people had migraines. I don't have a migraine, so how could we be? We're certainly not identical. Maybe we both belong to the same category, but plenty of non-identical things belong to the same category. So that isn't enough to show that I am an identical person with that group of people in the past who have had migraines. And then, of course, I think that now when I don't have a migraine and I feel excellent. But then when I do have a migraine, I think maybe I should get some medication because it sucks so hard. And then what's the hardest point ever is immediately after when I go to bed, because I've never wakefully shaken off a migraine. I have done so only through the battery of sleep. And when I wake up, I feel so happy not to have the migraine that in many ways it feels worth it. It was good to have the migraine because it feels so good not to have it anymore. It feels better than never having it. So then it's impossible to tell myself that I need to get migraine medication. Sometimes I feel like I have a bunch of black pea-sized pain nodules in a certain area of my brain, and it just spins and digs into the parts of my head that it touches, and I am and I heard this, I heard a story about someone with who got migraines. Then they found a bowling ball-sized tumor in her brain. Well, I'm gonna just put on a quick. We're here with Jonathan Cohen, and he's talking about I'm just gonna put on something really quick, something kind of funny.
Oh, by the way, Pete. And death actually improves the reasoning abilities of the damned.
Okay. I'm here with my friend Jonathan Cohn, who's giving me migraines and panic attacks and things, and I just wanted to kind of send him off on a good note. And here's what I'm gonna ask you. What kind of medicine do you use when you feel you get a migraine and you don't have the medicine you wish you could have? What is your second, let's say your third choice? Well, like I said, I mean, you got mad at me. You keep getting mad at me and stuff. So I guess I already said I used iBoop. So I don't know what else you want me to say. I think you're just kind of jumping Jehoshaphat, jumping for questions. You didn't write enough questions down in your notebook, in your 120 sheet college ruled 11 by 8.5 inch 3-subject notebook in the spiral manner, it was made in the USA by the Mead Corporation in Dayton, Ohio. But like I said, and it's really sturdy, and I use iBoop to get better when I don't have my other stuff. And the problem is that iBoop isn't a sleep aid, so like I have to figure out how to go to sleep all by myself, and it's really hard. It's scary in that twilight area between sleep and wake when your reasoning abilities are at their nadir and you don't know how. Okay, John. Have a great night. So that was John Cohn's whole deal, and I think I have a little bit of a migraine now. I never had one before, but now I just happen to have one from him. My theory is that migraines are communicable, and I wonder if the dinosaur guy I'm going to have on my next show, I wonder if I'll get some kind of dino interest disease from my next. He's gonna be later. It's gonna be the next week, and I sure hope so, because you don't really hear a lot about dinos very much these days. They're kind of like what happened, I am a betting man, and so is my friend Stefan Anaker, who I wish I could get on the show one day if he's down or whatever. But he bet me that he could bake a cake faster than me, and little did I know what enormous trouble I was in. Anyway, long story short, I now have to read the entirety of the Vadavidi of Vasubandhu on my show. The good news is I already read most of it, and I know my sponsors tell me that this is the least profitable segment of each episode when I run off on these archaic technical documents. So there's no point in bringing that up if you were listening, which I guess is the bad news. Text 17. When one assumes that since a justification does not exist before its utterance, the demonstrandum also must not exist, this is a case of a reply based on non-utterance. For example, the maker of such a spurious reply may say to this same argument that sounds of speech are non-eternal because they arise due to an effort. Quote, Since the justification does not exist prior to its apprehension and utterance, it follows that the demonstrandum also does not exist. Thus, since sounds of speech are said to be non-eternal because they have arisen due to an effort, it follows that, because the justification does not exist prior to its utterance, the sound is not yet non-eternal. Thus it must be eternal prior to the utterance of the justification. But once it is eternal, how can it become non-eternal?" Unquote. To this it may be replied as follows. This reply is reversed. We adduce the justification as something which brings about a cognition, but not as something which brings about a cessation. This maker of a spurious reply is, however, attempting to refute us on the grounds that the justification itself is supposed to bring about a cessation. Thus this reply is reversed. When one attempts to show that the demonstrandum is not demonstrated on account of a minimal difference in effect, this is a reply based on difference of effect. When, for example, the thesis has been set up as follows, quote, "Sounds of speech are non-eternal because they are an effect, like a pot," unquote, the adversary may reply as follows, quote, "The pot is non-eternal because of being an effort of a different sort, so how does this apply to sounds of speech?" Unquote. To this it may be replied as follows. We are claiming that every effect in general is non-eternal, so the difference from the state of effect of a pot is irrelevant. Thus this reply is reversed. The incorrect includes spurious replies based on unwarranted overextension of principles and on mere conjecture. When it is said that sounds of speech are non-eternal because of their state of possessing a cause by obvious means of evidence, just like a pot, a maker of a spurious reply might say, quote, "What is your justification for stating that the pot itself is non-eternal?" Unquote. To this it may be replied as follows. Why is there no justification? Simply because it has not been related to the demonstrandum, when the object in the parallel example can be directly observed to be concomitant with the event in the demonstrandum. For it can be directly observed by you yourselves, too, that the arising of a pot occurs with the means of evidence of a cause. Thus this reply is unreal. Spurious replies based on conjecture may be reduced to unreal replies also. For instance, when it is argued that the self does not exist, because it cannot be apprehended, just like the son of a barren woman, the maker of such a spurious reply may respond as follows, quote, "Then the self-evident supposition is incurred, that everything which is directly perceived must exist, but there are objects which, though they are directly perceived, do not exist, such as the circle which is seen when a torch is hurled in an arc." Unquote. To this it may be replied, it is being assumed that there is existence for everything that is directly perceived, which is a vain assertion. What is being argued here is that which is not directly perceived, and which cannot be inferred, does not exist. Thus, this reply is unreal. So thanks for and all that. I just have to. There's a few things that need to be cleared out. I just have to clear the air a little bit. Just have to. There's a few. There's a little bit of straw under the bed that I gotta take care of. There's this lab in New Haven that's doing this experiment on hope. Well, like the control group, they aren't given any hope. They're just told something will happen, and then the experiment group is told that something's gonna happen, or they're told to tell themselves that something's gonna happen, and to use extremely spurious reasoning for evidence that it's gonna happen, and then their hopes get dashed, and you see what happens. And then there's a second part where they make you mad at yourself for getting your hopes up, and you don't get paid either. You just tell yourself you get paid, or you will, and then you don't. So yeah, contact them if that sounds good to you. If you need a little bit of dough, you could probably. And my friend is making this movie. It was just like a documentary about these cannibals who were. He met these cannibals who were hunting down a laboratory of undead time-traveling temples, undead time traveling psychic temples, and they're coming out of somewhere in Connecticut. What's the biggest town in Connecticut, or the biggest city or whatever? And it was something about like the undead psychic temples managed to enter into this like pact with a god. So if you want to, so just make sure to contact him if you need any dough. They need a lot of extras. There's like a lot of. I'm actually gonna be temple number 6, so check it out in the theaters. So, and I need everyone to make sure to have a really good night and to experience sweet dreams. And if you have a nightmare, just make sure to call in as soon as you can, because we're gonna be doing like a live tweeting event at night. Like we're gonna live tweet the night, and that's gonna be next episode. So make sure if you wake up and get scared, just make sure to let us know, and we'll have a fine time tonight.